right, hey, good afternoon, Evan. How you doing today, buddy?
Oh, I'm fantastic.
Tough night for Evan Roberts last night.
Listen, I'm happy for
the
you.
New York Knicks do something we have not done in a decade and only twice in 2 decades, and that is advance to the next round.
You know why you did more than that? The last time the Knicks won a series, I'll never forget it. It was 10 years ago. You guys beat the Celtics. But I remember when you beat Boston, there was this, sadness because the Knicks had a 3-0 lead. They almost blew Game 6 in Boston. I think they had a 30-point lead. Celtics made it close. And when you guys won that game in advance, there was this feeling of, thank God.
Right.
What you did last night was you crushed a team.
Yep.
You beat the crap out of a team.
Wire to wire.
You took their soul. You took their heart. You had them after the game basically saying the lights were too bright. Jared Allen, actual quote. They wanted it more than us. Ricky Rubio, actual quote. And you walked away, if you're a Knicks fan, feeling as good as you have felt in, forget a decade. Because, again, you remember that series against Boston. There was a part of you that was almost relieved. Last night, you walked out of that beating your chest, and then it got better as the night went on because you learned who you'd play in the next round.
Yeah, and now we have a legitimate thought that we have a chance to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. I will get to that later on. It's probably premature right now. A little later in the show, we can start debating, Knicks and Heat and all that because it is one of our great rivalries. Although it goes back, 25 years since it's happened, a little less than that. 4 straight years and all those great games that we talk about in the brawls and Van Gundy holding on to Alonzo's leg and all that crap. But it's funny how the NBA's changed. I think you'd agree dramatically. In the last 25 years, it's now a 3-point shooting game. Obviously, it's a high-scoring man's game. There's not a lot of great defense played, even with teams that do win championships. And the New York Knicks showed something that it's not even necessarily like their DNA in today's league. It's a franchise DNA thing. But, in the 4 games that they won, the Cavaliers did not score 100 points in any one of those games.
Right.
That doesn't happen ever in today's NBA. And it shows you that if you do play just solid fundamental basketball, right? And everyone's got a role, and, it's cliche, but, you stick to your role. You can win a lot of games without having to have, a 3-headed monster of superstars.
You can also win a lot of games, and when you look at how they did this in 5, which I'm surprised by, I take my
By the
L.
way, I'm a Knicks fan. I'm surprised.
Yeah, look, Cleveland during the regular season was a really good team. The Knicks beat the crap out of them over 5 games. Let's call it like it is. They left no doubt. But when I look back at these 5 games and I say, how the hell did this happen? Defensively, they did a great job against the Cleveland guards. Let's start with Emmanuel Quickly's defense because I think he's almost underrated in this series.
He's better defensively than offensively, other than yesterday.
And that's all that matters.
Yep.
IQ's defense was insane. Josh Hart's defense, the way they defended Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. But here's the other thing they did. They pushed this team around. They pushed them around. Before Julius Randle, unfortunately, had the ankle injury last night, he was physically imposing his will on the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this entire series, Mitchell Robinson absolutely imposed his will.
18 rebounds last night.
And so the New York Knicks won a series because, quite frankly, they were tougher than the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
They pushed them around. And, Jalen Brunson outplayed Donovan Mitchell. Of course. But they were physically imposing. And before Julius got hurt, and I don't think we should forget about this because I've taken a lot of time ripping him. You've taken time ripping him. And I think a lot of that's been deserved. Last night before he got hurt, physically, he was pushing them around.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, he was on his way to a 30-point game, too. Not to mention he was physically dominating anybody that tried to, D him up. It's... we all make fun of each other's franchise and, root against this one and root for that one, et cetera, et cetera. But, this is an easy Knicks team to like also. They are not riddled with, household name superstars, to be fair. Jalen Brunson's becoming, obviously, a superstar in the league. And remember, he wasn't even an all-star this year.
Right.
Slight, obviously, but wasn't even an all-star. So it's interesting, that they've the light bulb somehow, some way went off. I don't want to overstate it. They beat a Cleveland Cavalier team, like you said, that wasn't ready for prime time. And what's fascinating is that they're admitting it.
Yeah.
They're coming out telling you, we think we have more talent than the New York Knicks, and that's after they lost in 5
and you
games.
know what? You could take all your little talent, and you could claim you have it, and maybe 2 years down the road, a year down the road, you'll come back and show us the talent that you have.
Maybe.
But in this season, you failed. And here's the funny thing. The Knicks fan can look at you and say, hey, guys, we know how you feel, because 2 years ago,
that was us.
That was the New York Knicks, a 4 seed. A team on the rise, home court advantage, lose game 1 at home, win game 2 at home, we're back. And then lose 3 straight games in which the other team proved they were tougher than you and they were better than you. And you can look back on that experience as a Knicks fan and chuckle about it now, because guess what you did this year? You kicked another team's ass.
By the way,
and you left no doubt.
And not only that, if you just look at this entire season now, including the postseason, the Knicks and Cavs played each other 9 times. The Knicks won 7 out of the 9.
Yeah.
All right, so that's dominance for one particular season, one franchise over another. And we say this all the time. Maybe it's a cliche. Maybe you don't want to buy into it. But when the New York Knicks are good and they are alive in the playoffs, New York's just a different town. It really is. There's this. It's almost like those cicada locusts that live in the ground, and every 7 years they come out of the ground and they make that unbearable noise all summer long, right?
Yes.
The Knicks are like those cicada locusts.
I agree. That noise that comes out, that's the best point you've ever made.
Yeah. It's like I get people out on the streets last night. It's like it's a soccer crowd. But there's something special when the New York Knicks aren't just good, when they have a legitimate opportunity. Now, like when you match them up against the Miami Heat, nothing but respect for Jimmy Butler and what he did. He single-handedly beat the Milwaukee Bucks,
you're
right?
happy that they advanced, but let's acknowledge what they just accomplished.
Yeah,
let's acknowledge
100%.
That. Yeah.
And I'd rather play the Miami Heat than Milwaukee.
100%.
Milwaukee's got much more talent than Miami does.
100%.
Doesn't mean we're going to win.
Right.
But the fact is that Knicks fan today is not being a fanboy or outrageous in saying out loud or to themselves, we have a legitimate shot at the Eastern Conference Finals.
Craig, you're the
That's
favorites.
on the table.
The Knicks are, and I think fairly so, the favorites in this series.
That's right.
Now, I don't think they're huge favorites. I don't think anyone would think that they are. I think, again, we have to respect not only what the Heat have accomplished this season in terms of the recent run they went on, but this is a team that's gone on runs before. They were in the conference finals a year ago. They were in the bubble NBA finals a few years earlier. But the fact that the Knicks are here for only the second time in the last 2 decades, and like I mentioned, I think this matters. They got here very differently than they did a decade ago. I'll never forget that next day when I came on the air, and I'm sure you won't either. There was almost this weird bitterness when you advanced. Like,
when you're talking about when the Knicks beat the Celtics.
When they beat the Celtics.
Yeah.
You were happy, but there was this feeling of relief and disgust about how you got there. This year? This time? This moment? No. There's none of that. There's beating your chest proud about what you just witnessed. And one guy I got to give major props to, because now that I look back at the Atlanta series 2 years ago and I say, what was the difference? Obviously, Jalen Brunson jumps out at all of us. He's the difference. There's another difference. There was a guy who didn't play in that series 2 years ago because he was injured. And that guy's Mitchell Robinson.
Yes.
Last night was the Mitchell Robinson game.
18
Mitchell
rebounds.
Robinson set the tone of that basketball game. Not to take anything away from what Jalen did. He made his first how many shots? 5 shots. But Mitchell Robinson, there was a moment in this game where he out-rebounded Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, and the looks on their face was they knew what the hell was going on.
Those guys no-showed. They no-showed offensively, they no-showed defensively, and they got out tough. Exactly right. So here we are. Knicks fans chanting Bleep Miami in the streets last night, chanting Bleep Phil Jackson. It's like we exercised a lot of our demons. And we didn't back into it. We didn't get lucky. We outplayed our opponent. And that's all that happened. We outplayed a team that we were evenly matched with, and now we get the fruits of our labor. We get to be as obnoxious as we want to be, and now we get to renew what was a great rivalry at the end of the 90s into 2000, and we get to relive all the videos. We get to relive P.J. Brown. We get to relive Alonzo and Larry Johnson in 98. We get to relive all of it.
Do we get to relitigate the suspensions that cost the Knicks the series in 97?
Matter of fact, I started that this morning.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so Tim Hardaway's my guy.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Timmy about that this morning.
Right.
And he reminded me of something I'd forgotten about. In the fight down in Miami that led to the suspensions in Games 6 and 7.
And led to Miami coming back.
And gave Miami the entry to get back in that series because they were down 3-1, obviously, right?
Yep.
I didn't realize that it was Tim Hardaway at a press conference after the game that took notes about every Knicks player that had come off the bench and even wandered onto the court a foot or two.
Right.
Because they all got suspended.
Yeah, letter of the law.
Yeah, and he made a point of pointing out to David Stern every single guy.
Well, do you know who was the one who gave the suspensions out? A guy very near and dear in my heart.
Rod Thorne?
Rod Thorne.
Was it? Yeah.
Rod Thorne was the one who said, hey, look, we got to follow the rules. Patrick, I know you weren't doing anything. You were just standing
He was at the
midcourt.
free throw line 30 feet away.
Can't leave the bench, Craig.
That's right. Now, it's funny. Sometimes people conflate the two fights.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the 98 fight, which, by the way, game one on Sunday will be the 25th anniversary to the day of the 98 fight. And that's the one with Jeff Van Gundy being thrown around like a rag doll,
Right.
holding on to Alonzo's leg.
Right.
All right. The fight that I was referring to
Yeah.
was obviously, that was what, 99?
No, 97.
97 parting with P.J.
Yep.
Brown and all
Yep.
that.
Yep.
So,
Well, remember this about Knicks Heat, and I'll be fair about this. We're going to leave out 2012.
Yes.
Because who cares? All right, the Knicks made the playoffs. They lost to Miami in 5. It was the Heatles days with LeBron and D. Wade. That's like, we almost ignore it because it wasn't really a part of the Knicks-Heat rivalry. It didn't feel anything like it. But when the Knicks and Heat used to play each other back in the day, outside of the suspension and the controversy around 97, you guys would always get the last laugh. Whether it's being the 8th seed, winning a Game 5 in Miami, or winning another Game 5 in Miami, or coming back and beating them in 2000. Like, you used to beat their asses all the time, Craig. Like,
yes,
the Knicks
we took 3 out of those 4 series.
Yeah, and the one you lost was really
not
the
even our
suspension.
fault. Right.
Well, it was your fault. You left the bench. Can't
Well,
leave the bench,
I mean,
Craig.
it wasn't based on playing basketball. it was based on getting in a brawl, and then guys walking on the court to see what the brawl was all
Hey,
about.
can't walk on the court, Patrick.
Yes, and Tim was telling me today. He goes, if Charlie Ward forgot that he was a football player, nothing else would have happened. Yeah, I'm like, dude, he got ragdolled. What are you talking about?
You know, it's kind of funny. I don't know if you've thought about this yet. I'm sure everybody will at some point. But think about who the coaches are. Tom Thibodeau was an assistant
With Van Gundy.
for Jeff Van Gundy in the late 90s. And guess who was an assistant for Pat Riley? Eric Spoelstra. So as much as the players have changed, no doubt.
Yeah.
You know, Jimmy Butler and Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, like, what
Yeah.
are you talking about? The coaches kind of still have that history from those late 90s.
Listen, and the Knicks should be favored in this series coming up. You know, Tyler Hero's out with the broken hand. Victor Oladipo's out with the patella tendon ligament, injury, right?
And we don't know about Julius,
Yeah.
though. We don't.
We do not know about Julius yet, and he's got now, what's today, Thursday? So he's got 3 full days to do what he's got to do. The only good news when you watched him roll the ankle is that it was one of those full where the ankle went totally sideways. And you know what's interesting about it to me? Do you remember when I brought up to you, I guess it was Monday this week, right? The notion that when I was sitting courtside for Game 3 on Friday night,
Right.
I made the point of saying to you that every single guy on the New York Knicks wears low-top sneakers.
Right.
Brunson and Hart are wearing their Kobe Grinches. Everyone's got whatever the deal is, right? But there's not a single guy on the Knicks on Friday night that was wearing high tops. And then I'm watching Julius Randle get hurt, already has a bad ankle from the end of the regular season. And it dawned on me watching his ankle roll again that while I'm sure he's taped up under his sock, did not look like he had a brace on, may have, didn't seem like he did, and he's wearing low-top sneakers again. And I'm fascinated by the fact that dudes his height with a bad ankle are not wearing high-top kicks.
I looked into this because you brought it up, and it was so interesting. Reading about the history of this, half the league, more than half the league, goes low-top now. And they feel like they have more comfort in their foot, more flexibility.
It's not for style?
Nah, well, for some maybe. But what I've also read is that there's no proof that the higher top would actually help you avoid these ankle injuries.
I can't speak to that, but it seems like it couldn't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, logically, you would think it wouldn't hurt. But right now, one thing I've learned about Julius Randle, and this is a compliment that I think we all have of him, if there's any chance he can play Sunday, he will play Sunday.
Yeah, listen, unlike a lot of superstars, if you consider him a superstar, he's probably an echelon below that, to be fair, but he was the Knicks' best player this year. No disrespect to Jalen Brunson, but Randle had a great regular season.
He did.
He plays. He doesn't take load management days. The dude wants to play. The only games he missed, I think he played 77 games this year.
He played every game till he got hurt.
Right. That dude is a ball player, wants to be on the court, and I'm with you. There is no doubt in my mind he's going to suit up on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And by the way, the schedule blows.
Why?
Sunday at 1 o'clock.
It's great.
Tuesday night.
What's wrong with that?
And then no basketball till Saturday?
Well,
come on, man.
There is a little
We can't
bit of a
get a
layoff.
Friday night game in Miami?
There's a little bit
Friday,
of a layoff,
Sunday?
but the Sunday afternoon thing I think is awesome because, A, it feels old school. Tell me if I'm crazy here. It feels like it's the 90s
Like an old
again.
NBC double dipper? Okay.
And number two, the weather's supposed to be so terrible on Sunday, it gives us something to do at
Well,
1
if
o'clock.
you tell me it's going to be pouring rain outside, and I got nothing else to do anyway, then fine.
Well, you could join me and Loogie because guess where we're going Sunday afternoon? Game 1 Knicks Heat because I'm a man of my word.
No, you're not.
He couldn't go
You're
to
not
Game
going.
6. I am going.
You can't go.
I'm going.
Dude.
Why can't I go?
Because you bought the tickets to make a business decision.
Yeah.
I'm assuming even for those lousy seats you got,
They're great seats.
that Game 1 is a minimum $850 a ticket.
Yeah.
So that's $1,700 you put in the bank account.
Loogie is a hardworking guy.
Yeah.
He believes in the New York
Well, why don't we
Knicks.
barter something
I
here?
promised him Game 6. Unfortunately, Game 6 did not happen.
Right.
I am heartbroken over that.
Are you, though?
Yes!
Yeah, I know. You wanted that series to go on. You wanted a little agita here. I
Dude,
got it.
wanted you guys scared. You weren't even
Yeah.
scared.
No, wire to wire. All right, so Tommy, let me ask you a question. Can I represent your interest in this business arrangement or no?
Oh boy! For the show, yes, you can.
No. Not
I wouldn't.
Not
I
for
wouldn't.
the show.
Like,
Just say no. That's it.
I lean no on this because I feel like I'm going to lose out on the deal.
He's gonna
lose out?
Yeah, I'm going to have to give up like a firstborn or something to go to a
The
basketball game.
dude's gonna make $1,700 if he doesn't take you to the game.
No, he's not. He's got plenty of Nick home games he's going to sell over the next couple of weeks.
Oh,
Don't
yeah,
I
worry.
do have a few in it.
Including Game 7, Knicks Heat. So he's good. He'll be all right.
All right, so you don't want to barter with him at all?
I'm going to buy him a beer. He didn't know that. I got the Canada
he's
beer.
willing to spend money on you, man.
Yeah, I'm going to buy him a beer.
No.
And a panini.
He is willing to say, listen, I'm going to sell the tickets, but since I'm making a net profit.
That's true.
Is there something you've wanted to buy that maybe your wife won't buy for you that I can give you $500 to go buy? Something like that.
What would you like, Evan? We could
No,
start the
forget
negotiation.
about Evan right now. You're my client.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to negotiate or do you just want to go to the game and call it a day?
Well,
You have a
Craig-
chance to walk away with something
Yeah.
else is what Craig is trying
Oh,
to
I
tell
could
you.
get I could get something else.
like,
Let's
you don't
go.
get to go to game 1, but you get a 50-inch flat TV.
So I don't get to. So hold on a second. I didn't get to go to Game 3. There was no Game 6.
That's right.
I was going to Game 1. Now I'm not even going to Game 1 either.
No,
Well, but we
what-
could watch.
But I get a T-shirt.
You could end up with something cool, like Craig
Right.
said, and watch Game
Yeah.
1 with me in my beautiful TV
on
room.
your brand new television. The point is this: you have a choice right now. He's locking in. You go to game 1. It's a wrap. It's done. No further conversation. But Evan's saying to you, since it's going to be an expensive ticket, and he can obviously sell the tickets for a lot of money. I'm making up the number $850, but let's just use that as the number, okay?
Okay.
That he could make $1,700 by not taking you to the game. And because he feels bad for you,
Lay the guilt on even a
you
little
don't
more.
go to the game, but he buys you a 60-inch Samsung,
No, but here's the thing.
which you have forever.
No, but it's like, I went to France and all I got was a stupid T-shirt. I don't go to the Knicks game. I want to go to the game.
Okay,
and
that's it.
TV
That's
doesn't
it.
make
Have
up for
you
it.
ever
And that's
been
it.
to a New York Knicks playoff game?
I have never
Wow.
been to a Knicks
See, that's a
playoff
tough thing
game.
to buy him off on.
Okay.
Like a Knicks playoff game against the Miami Heat.
Or a
with-
60-inch Samsung that you can watch all your television events on.
Craig. You could always buy
Yeah.
a 60-inch TV. I'm not trying to say you guys are going to miss the playoffs the next decade. I'm not making that prediction.
Right.
But game 1s at Madison Square Garden with
Right.
the Knicks in the playoffs are very rare occurrences. You have to take advantage of it.
Okay. By the way, I respect that. You want to be in the building for game 1, second round, which is a rare occurrence indeed. Hasn't happened but twice now in a quarter century. So I'm all good with it. But we are offering you, Evan is, the opportunity to also have a 60-inch Samsung in the crib for the next 20 years.
Nah, as a diehard Knicks fan, I got to be in the building. I got to be there. TV
I respect that. I respect that.
Commitment, man. And based on the prices for tickets, if you're going to the game, you're making the same decision as Lukey.
Yeah.
Because you're dropping God knows amount of money
All right, well,
to see a basketball game.
That ends that conversation. You walked away from a beautiful new television.
I respect it, though, man.
I
This
do,
is
too.
Very, very exciting. Even
Unless they lose by 20, that would suck.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for. Even as somebody, and I make no bones about it, I'm certainly not a Knicks fan. I will be rooting against you. You know that. This is a huge game, and it's a huge moment. And even I'm excited to be in the building Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I'm counting on the obvious letdown of the Miami Heat having slayed Goliath, the 1 seed, which has only happened, 3 times, I think, and never in the play-in era of basketball.
New York Knicks did it. Memphis Grizzlies did it. Golden State Warriors did it.
That's it, right?
Yeah. And
the Knicks did it against the Bulls, if I'm not mistaken, right? Wasn't that the...
No. They did it against Miami.
I'm sorry, Philly did it. Philly did it against the Bulls.
No. Philly never did it. It's Denver, the Knicks, Golden State, and Memphis are the only 4 teams to do it.
I think Philly did it against the Bulls. Double check that.
Okay,
I'm almost positive.
But here's what's crazy. So the Knicks
Because wasn't that the Derrick Rose injury year?
Yeah, double check that one. The ones I remember, the 94 Nuggets.
That's fair enough. So 3-4, not a lot,
but think about this. And the Knick one we've all acknowledged doesn't count only because you guys were too good. Like it was the lockout. You weren't a real 8 seed. It's a compliment. Don't take it as a negative.
I agree.
Okay, so if you take that one out, all right, because we know the Knicks went to the finals that year.
That's right.
Every other 8 seed got knocked out the next round. Every one of them.
That's right.
They got knocked out quickly. So the Knicks are the exception. Very different world, very different kind of team. But all these great upsets, the 94 Nuggets, which I'll never forget as a kid. That was the big one. That's the image of Mutombo on the ground with the basketball, holding it in his hand like crying after they beat Seattle. The Warrior one because the Mavs won the championship. The Memphis one I don't remember as much in 2011. And obviously what Miami did last night. But what's crazy about what Miami did, they did it in 5, and they did it coming back against a team that's won a championship down by 16 points against an all-time great player. What the Heat I am stupefied by. I got to admit, I am stupefied by what
Especially because they're down 14 in Game 4, come back and win in the fourth quarter, and they're down 16 yesterday in the fourth quarter again
100%.
with Jimmy Butler on the bench, and they come back and win again. I'm being told that the Knicks win yesterday against the Cavs has really radiated from coast to coast, Evan, and celebrities now nationwide are jumping on the Knicks bandwagon. And I'm happy to bring on the show right now an old friend of the program and a huge sports fan who I'm sure is thrilled that he's going to be in New York for Game 2 on Tuesday night. The lead singer of Train, my main man, Pat Monahan. Pat, it's Craig and Evan. How you been, buddy?
Great. Listening to you guys, I wish that I was the third in that room, and then you guys could just be way smarter than me and know way more about sports. So you'd feel better, and I'd feel great just being in the room with you.
By the way, you're not lying. I would feel much better. So here's what's crazy. Train and G-Love and the Special Sauce are going to be at the Hulu Theater at the Garden on Tuesday, and as luck would have it, you're also going to have 19,000 people at Knicks Heat. So your timing is great, Pat, to be in New York for a major sporting event.
Yeah, right. Well, hopefully there's room for everybody. I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, I promise you that there's room for everybody. And you're not a Knicks fan, I know that, but you're going to have to pretend to be, because at some point during your show Tuesday night, you're going to have to say, "Hey, Knicks fans, blah, 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 blah." Are you prepared for that?
I'll come out wearing a Knicks jersey no matter if I'm rooting for them or not, because I am the people's man. You know?
That is smart.
By the way, I hope you do. That'd be the smartest thing you ever did at a show in New York City.
I'm a Golden State Warriors fan, but I ain't no dummy.
Big win for you guys on the road against Sacramento.
No, you do have to admit, if you came out with an Alonzo Mourning Heat jersey, it would be kind of badass.
No, you can't.
I mean, come on, a little badass.
You can't. You want to play Jones Beach and PNC again, on the Garden again, and Radio City again. And I know the guy that owns the building. If you wear a Heat jersey, you ain't coming back.
Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting conned into that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I know Pat's probably all excited. A big NFL guy. Are you a big draft guy, Pat, or no?
You know, I have a very dear friend who is an agent, so I always kind of tap into him on draft stuff. I mean, I know a little bit about the teams that I love and what they're up to and what they're planning on doing. And I just was at the Golden State Warriors game with Kyle Shanahan. So, he's the 49ers coach, and he feels real good about Purdy and the team. And
so let me ask you a question.
While
While you were sitting out that game with Kyle Shanahan, did he tell you how close he was to getting Aaron Rodgers to be the Niners quarterback? And unfortunately for him, the Jets got it done, or no?
No, he didn't tell me about it because we were talking about Purdy the whole time, so maybe he didn't want to let that out.
They love Brock Purdy, and rightfully so.
He didn't lose a game, essentially.
Yeah, 8-0 until the playoff loss against Philadelphia, right?
That's right. And, I was just at the AT&T Pro-Am with Aaron Rodgers, and he won. Because I think he's like a 2 handicap, and they gave him 10 strokes. So I don't know.
That was a very big controversy, Pat, where he won. And I want to say the pro that might have been playing with Josh Allen, I could be wrong on that, called Aaron Rodgers out saying, my man, you played to a much different handicap than you are. You better give the trophy back. You didn't earn it, right?
Right, but, hanging out with Aaron, he's really a sweet guy. I think he's going to be great in New York. And what he did with the Joe Namath number, man, I thought that was super class.
That was a must. That would have been, even though it was offered by Joe, I think that would have been kind of a negative thing right out of the gate to say, I'm going to take the only guy who's won a championship at quarterback for the Jets' number. I thought that was a smart move by him.
It was it was the right move and a smart move. Go ahead, Pat.
That's like me walking out on Tuesday in a Knicks jersey. We got to know how to do this.
Especially, Pat, because G-Love is a Philadelphia kid and a diehard Sixers fan.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that guy.
Yeah, so we're going to make sure that there's a good separation between him and you guys coming on stage because you know how that goes.
Yeah, I won't even be seen with him in New York.
There you go. So, listen, it's Tuesday night. I know there's a handful of tickets left, not much. So if you can't get to the Knicks game, obviously we'd be respectful of what's going on inside of the Garden. But Pat and the guys will be playing, going on stage a little bit after 9 o'clock. So Knicks game will be coming to an end. You'll have Train going on stage.
That's right.
And there is a little birdie that you have this really special opening act for the second time in as many years, just making sure all the microphones work. And I'm very eager to see that young man get up on stage again and introduce, quote unquote, my dear friend Pat. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to it. And being in New York, I'm in the middle of finishing a musical. So we're hoping that'll be off Broadway in the spring. And maybe by next fall, we'll be in New York a lot.
Is it like an autobiographical musical or just something that you invented?
It was a movie, and I wrote all the music for it. And I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to talk about it, so I don't. But I think that soon I can talk a lot about it.
It was a movie. Was it a popular movie, like a really very cult following movie?
Yeah, it was called Begin Again, and it did pretty well.
Right.
But, it's going to be really fantastic. Cool. It's a cool thing.
I'll tell you what, when it's all locked in and done and you're going to be out here again, we'll have you swing by. We'll say hi. We'd love to see you in person.
Yeah, I'd love to be in that room with you guys.
And I will see you Tuesday night. I can't wait to see which Knicks jersey you choose to wear. And if you want
what color? I mean,
orange
it
or white.
doesn't even matter to me.
Just very simple. Get the white with the orange trim. All
Get
good.
The white.
Don't go blue.
You got it.
Yep, just go white and orange.
Jalen Brunson's probably the best choice.
Go number 11. Yeah. Easy peasy choice. No problem. You got it.
Should I have a shirt under it?
Yeah, I would. I don't know if you've been working out or not, but I'd have a shirt. I might go 2 shirts and a turtleneck under it. I cover it all up.
Yeah, turtleneck and a sweatshirt.
That's
man.
It. All right, pal.
really
Listen, I'll see you Tuesday night as well. And I always appreciate you coming on. And glad you're in New York, and we'll see you. Be good, okay?
All right, you too. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, check out Train. He'll be at the theater at the Garden Tuesday night. Really perfect timing, actually. Knicks game, Train, pop.
Dude, the Garden,
keep the party running.
The Garden is rocking. Think about this. Saturday night, you got Rangers-Devils game 6, too. So we had that last week, too, where the Garden was popping every night, and it continues on again for another couple of weeks.
The Knicks have done their job at the Garden. The Rangers have not.
Well,
the Knicks won game 3 and 4.
Done their job yet. They're tied 2-2.
Rangers lost game 3 and 4.
I understand.
It's about 2-2. The Garden crowd.
It's still 2-2.
You win at home.
Listen, we're a long way away from something. And I don't want to jinx anything. But obviously, tonight is a huge night, Rangers-Devils. Tomorrow night's a monstrous night on Long Island, Islanders-Hurricanes. It's possible that next week, it's possible, not even going to say likely, it's possible
What?
That along with Knicks Heat, we could be staring at the New York Islanders and the New Jersey Devils. I mean, the New York Rangers. Can you imagine that?
Rangers Islanders.
Can you imagine Rangers Islanders for the first time in almost 30 years? With Knicks Heat going on at the same time?
Well,
this city's head's going to explode.
I think Knicks Heat would be the more viewed series.
I don't think so.
I do. You think Rangers Islanders for the first time in 30 years to go to the, the Eastern
to the
Finals,
conference finals, yeah,
right?
Yes,
would
yes.
outdo Knicks Heat?
I think. Listen, I want to pay respect to
I
what
hope it
Knicks
happens.
Heat,
That'd be great.
and we're a long way from it. Islanders still have to win 2 more, including another game in Carolina, but first at UBS.
Yeah.
Rangers have to beat the Devils. I understand there's a lot standing in the way, but if that happened,
Yeah.
I actually would say Rangers Islanders.
I would say New York would be, as the kids say, lit.
It would be lit.
Yeah, I mean, you talk. I mean, Knicks Heat's already great because even if you are a 25-year-old kid who never saw any of those great matchups live,
right.
Obviously you only see them on YouTube or whatever the case may be, this is a rivalry.
Yeah.
This is the Knicks Heat is a legitimate.
You know,
it's not Knicks Celtics of the 80s.
No,
but Knicks Sixers even.
I disagree.
This is
with
real.
You. I disagree with you slightly. So it was a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. I was talking casually with a bunch of people, Big Mac Lucy and others, about for the teams in this town, who's the other team you hate the most? Like your biggest rival.
Depends on age.
Exactly. For those under the age of 40.
I think that's the cutoff. I'm with you.
For 40. I acknowledge that for Joe Beningo, it's the Boston Celtics. I spoke to him about it. Not even close.
Right.
If you're under the age of 40 and you're a Knicks fan hearing my voice right now, there is only one answer.
Miami.
And it's the Miami Heat.
Yeah,
so for a generation of Knicks fans, this is your blood rival.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons. 4 straight 97 to 2000 when the Knicks were perennially good. Obviously, without winning a title.
Pat Riley.
You got Pat Riley, Van Gundy, all that nonsense that went down. The brawls in 97, the brawl in 98.
To a lesser degree, but it added to it. I think there were a lot of Knicks fans that thought, wow, we're getting LeBron. And then he took his talents to Miami, and they ran the league
You've got
for 4
that
years.
aspect. You've got the Amari Stoudemire fire extinguisher thing.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of stuff historically that resonates with us as Knicks fans. But you're right. If you're 50 and older, it's very easy to say, it's in the top 3, but it ain't number 1. If you're 45 and under, it's the Miami Heat.
It's the Heat.
I agree 100%.
And the other thing that's kind of cool about this is sometimes I would always roll my eyes when I hear, I miss the 90s. I miss the 90s. 90s basketball. This series, as close as it can be in 2023, is going to be 90s basketball. As close as it could possibly be.
Yes, it's not going to be
78-77,
but it's going to be 103 to 98.
You know who had the best team defense in the NBA this year? The Miami Heat. You know whose defense has been locked down and awesome?
Knicks.
The New York Knicks.
Yep.
Tom Thibodeau, defensive coach. Like, this is going to be as close to the late 90s as you could have in this era.
And I will say this, and I did say this before the playoffs started, the best coach in the NBA that gets no love nationally is Eric Spoelstra.
No question.
That dude is as good a coach as there is. I know everyone talks about, Popovich, and you talk about, people are in love with Ty Lue. Eric Spoelstra might very well be the best coach in the NBA.
And obviously, Tom has coached against Spoelstra before, a decade ago, and this is the one guy, one of the few guys, and even you Knicks fans have to admit this, where you say they have an edge at coach. Because I think what we saw in this series against Cleveland is Tom Thibodeau runs circles. Like, he out-coached. I don't think you're going to look at that when you're staring at Eric Spoelstra, who you're right is one of the great coaches of all time.
He is. He's a Hall of Fame coach.
Yes.
And does not get a lot of national attention.
They came out with that list recently, the 15 greatest coaches of all time.
I didn't see it.
He was on it.
Oh, was
so
he? Okay, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Who put it out?
It was the NBA.
Like a reputable...
The NBA.
Oh, I got
Remember when the NBA released the 75 greatest players?
Yes, I didn't know they did coaches
They
too.
did a coaches list, didn't get as much attention. There's a few guys on the list you'd roll your eyes at, but one of the guys on the list is Eric Spoelstra.
Please tell me Steve Kerr's not on that list.
Steve Kerr, I think, was on that list.
Oh, my God.
Doc Rivers was on that
It's
list.
like watching Mike Budenschwink try to coach yesterday.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
How does he not call a freaking timeout?
Because he was saving them for his kids for Christmas.
What a gift, Sonny. Here's a timeout I didn't use
Hey,
in
guess
Game
what,
5.
Billy? Daddy brought home a timeout for you. Why didn't you use it, Daddy? Well, I thought you'd enjoy it when I got home.